Welcome to another episode of the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm being joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How are we doing today on this Tuesday evening? Pretty big football weekend.
Unbelievable weekend.
We had some Saturday games. We had some record-breaking games. We'll get into that pretty much immediately. That is our first topic. We're talking about that, but pretty crazy weekend. We had
crazy.
We had some spreads that did not cover, some shocking games, like the Chiefs game went to overtime, and the stat comparisons.
The Jaguars beating the Cowboys.
The Jaguars beat the Cowboys, but in that Chiefs game, if you just took a look at the stats, it looked like the Chiefs would just blow them out, but apparently not. But let's get into our first topic. We are talking about Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan once again was on the wrong side of history for the second time in his career after the Vikings mounted the largest comeback in NFL history, down 33-0 at halftime. Kirk Cousins and the Vikings outscored the Colts 39-3 in the second half in overtime. How would you grade the Vikings and Colts performances individually?
Okay. In the first half, I'd give the Colts an A and A+, and the Vikings an F.
Right.
In the second half, I'd give the Vikings an A+, and I would give the Colts an F.
Okay.
And overall, I would give the Vikings, I guess I give them an A+ because they had the biggest comeback in NFL history, but that means they played lousy in part of the game.
Right.
Right? But they had the biggest comeback in NFL history. It was quite a game. I was watching it. It was a great game to watch. It was fun to watch. The Vikings fans going nuts. Right, and the team came back from oblivion there. The announcers were saying, well, when should they sit Cousins and the other players down because they're out of it so far, and they managed to come back. Wow, it was something else, really something. And the Vikings, it looked like they weren't going to make it, too. Cousins threw that interception. The guy didn't run the route. He stopped running the route. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. And, they had the interception there. I said, this game's over now. But they got the ball back and went down there and scored. That was quite a game, I must say.
Yeah.
Very good game. I enjoyed watching it a lot.
I want to give the Vikings in totality a B+. Because while the first half was anything but amazing or spectacular or even good, it was brutal.
It was great for the Colts.
Oh, yeah, the Colts played tremendously on defense, but the Vikings came back. Kirk Cousins, over 400 yards passing. He had four
touchdowns.
460 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 2
interceptions.
So that came in the first half. That pick six, I don't think is entirely Kirk Cousins' fault because Jalen Reagor was on a curl route, and then once Kirk Cousins looked towards him, Reagor decided to go inside in the field, and the Colts defender just jumped the route because Jalen Reagor moved on a curl route and went to the house with it. I'm going to give the Colts a D-. Now,
not an F.
I'm not going to give them an F because there was, crazy as it might seem, there was some positives that came out of this game. But let's start with the negatives.
For the Vikings. Yeah.
Let's start with the negatives here. Matt Ryan, 19 of 33, only 182 yards and 1 touchdown, but no interceptions. That's something. 3 field goals within the Vikings' 10-yard line. They could not convert those into touchdowns. That's another negative on them. And their defense fell apart in the second half and gave up 39 points compared to only scoring 3 points.
Yeah. You know the play where Ryan kept it on a sneak and he was trying to get the first down?
Yes.
And they called it short?
Yeah.
I never saw his knee touch the ground. I don't know. That call was pretty questionable there. They said he didn't make it, but he was moving and he fell over the line. But I guess they thought his knee touched the ground before. It looked to me like it didn't, but it was good that they gave the Vikings another chance. It made the game, kept the game exciting. So
now I want to talk the positives with the Colts now. With Jonathan Taylor out, their main running back, they still rushed for 171 yards, 60 more yards, actually 80 more yards than the Vikings did. So they're able to run the ball very efficiently. And Zach Moss, who was on the Bills earlier this season, got traded. It was a Nyheim Hines, Zach Moss trade. We covered that a couple episodes ago. He rushed for 81 yards, but on 24 carries, 3.4 yards per carry. Their defense, 7 sacks, 2 interceptions, with 1 being a pick six. And their offense, and plus the defense, is up 33-0 at half. So there is some positives in this game. It's just, you take a look at, I mean, even in the second half, they were still able to get to Kirk Cousins. It's just that Kirk Cousins and the Vikings were able to overcome being down 33-0. Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl being the MVP, up 28-3 against the Patriots. He lost that game.
Yeah, well.
Up 33-0 with the Colts.
He's got a couple of bad things on his resume now, right?
Yeah.
He biggest comeback in Super Bowl history and biggest comeback in a regular season game against him.
It's been pretty brutal. KJ
Don't you think the coaching staff for the Colts deserves some of the blame too?
Yeah, you got to.
Because if you're up 33-0 at the half, seems though you ought to be able to milk the clock enough in the second half to make it run out before you lose 39-36.
Yeah,
you know. I think they. You got to look at that too. I think the coaching on the Colts side was very poor.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal for the Colts perspective, because you're up 33-0. You're like, oh, this is easy. We're gonna win. I was watching the game. I'm like, oh, this game is over. I fell into your jinx. You picked the Colts to lose. I'm like, oh, great. I'm on the wrong side of picking.
It's only the second time I've won a Colts and another team's matchup this year.
It was quite an interesting game, but I gotta give it to Kirk Cousins being able to come back, and now at this point, I guess throughout most of the year, at 1 p.m. Vikings games, don't even bother watching the first half, because it's probably going to be either horrible or boring. And just watch the second half, because you have the Bills game, you have this game. I mean, just it seems like the Vikings and Kirk Cousins always seem to pull something out in most of these games. Even the Jets game, the Jets game, I believe it was last week. They were right up until the end. The Jets had a chance to win. Braxton Berrios could not hang on to the ball in the end zone. The Vikings were able to get that win. But this game was it got very boring in the first half, because I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
and then he comes in, and then he's like, oh my god, they actually have a chance. And so I don't know. I actually turned away from this game for honestly most of the third quarter. I turned away from it. I was watching some of the other games at 1 p.m. Or I guess, no, it's a Saturday game, so I didn't even bother watching this game. But came back in the fourth quarter. They started coming back. I'm like, oh, they actually have a chance. Yeah. And then I saw that last touchdown. Dalvin Cook can run it, man. Dalvin Cook had that big run at the very end of the game.
He's a good running back. Very good.
He's a very, very good running back. And somehow the Vikings were able to pull this off. Matt Ryan and the Colts, I don't know. Do you think Matt Ryan gets another chance next year?
I don't think so with them. Was he on a 1-year deal?
I have no clue. But regardless, I think they're going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. They'll draft a quarterback.
It's just the question mark.
They should get a good one. They should get a pretty good pick.
I mean, you would probably think so, yeah. But I don't know.
Matt Ryan, he's lost a lot.
Yeah, he has.
Really, from what he used to be. I mean, he was good last year. He was good with the Falcons. They just didn't have much around him.
Yeah.
You know, he was pretty good. But this year, he's been poor.
He's been pretty bad. And I thought going into this year, you had him as the number 1 seed in the AFC. I
did. I thought with that with their talent that they had on that team that they would do very well. But
as did I. I mean, I put him as the 4 seed, but I still think that Matt Ryan was a huge upgrade over Carson Wentz, but apparently not. And now we take a look here. Carson Wentz is benched for Taylor Heineke. We'll get into that game a little bit later. But Matt Ryan and the Colts, not looking too good for the future. It looks like the Colts are going to get a pretty high draft pick here, but we'll see what they do.
They should mail it in now. They should, I don't know, let the other guy play.
You think they would trade Jonathan Taylor to get a high draft pick, sort of? Because right now they probably need to go into a rebuild because they have a lot of talent. It's just
they
that they
build
don't have the
around
pieces.
Jonathan Taylor. He's only this will be this is his second year, right? Was he a rookie last year?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so I would build around him. I don't know why, he's been hurt this year quite a bit, but
he
is a talent, a big talent.
And plus you got Michael Pittman, who's a pretty good wide receiver.
Yeah, they have some pieces. They need a good quarterback.
Question mark of if you can get that quarterback whenever you pick. There's like probably 2-3 really good quarterbacks and one
tough to find a good quarterback. Good quarterbacks are really good quarterbacks are pretty scarce.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to this topic, and this is going to get interesting. The New England Patriots and Las Vegas Raiders were all tied up at 24 apiece when Mac Jones handed the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson, who looked like at the very beginning he was gone for the game-winning touchdown. But the Raiders caught up to him, And so he decided to flip the ball to Jacoby Myers, who turns back, runs backwards, sees Mac Jones, and throws it to Mac Jones, except former Patriot, this is fitting, Chandler Jones was able to intercept that backwards
It
pass.
was a fumble recovery, technically.
Technically, it was. And stiff-armed Mac Jones into smithereens, went for the fumble recovery 48-yard touchdown, and this was the announcer for the Raiders on that call.
I think what
That's Jimmy Johnson. We apologize. This is the Raiders announcer.
Out of what he...
If I can get it, please. There we go.
Jones hands it off on a draw to Ramondre Stevenson, breaks out of a tackle at the 50, has the 45, breaks away from another tackle, pitches it backwards, and now Jacoby Myers spinning around. He throws it to Chandler Jones in midfield, and a stiff arm. Chandler Jones racing towards the end zone.
How fitting is that?
It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe that.
Oh my goodness!
Chandler Jones, former Patriot. Patriots gave up on him after a off-the-field incident.
I just saw. This is unbelievable.
He was smoking synthetic marijuana.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the first night of Hanukkah, it's a miracle in Las Vegas.
And we'll get to the Jimmy Johnson clip right now. This is Jimmy Johnson talking about Bill Belichick's situation, the situation with the Patriots.
I think what Bill Belichick's doing right now, he's trying to make the best out of what he has, not only with his coaching staff, but also with his players, with the roster that he's got. They're not a super talented team.
No.
And some of their talent is young. And so I think he's trying to make the best of what he's got.
I mean,
Isn't that true of any coach?
that is. And while he's trying to make do with what he has, he's responsible for what the team has. He took Robert Kraft's $150 million a couple off seasons ago, spent a bunch of money. They right now have the most expensive receiving core in the National Football League. They're spending over $90 million on receivers, and none of them are even B-plus receivers. The closest one at the time of signing was Nelson Aguilar, and I thought Nelson Aguilar should have been traded because I think Kendrick Bourne is actually a more reliable receiver than Nelson Aguilar. He had a couple crucial drops this season.
I think he's very poor.
But while Jimmy Johnson's right, Bill Belichick has to deal with what he has.
Yeah.
He's responsible for the team around him.
Yeah, I think they really only have one player on offense, Ramondre Stevenson. He's
Right.
really the only player they've got on offense.
So we'll break down to the game right now. How can you explain this loss with the Patriots?
Well, I think it goes back to something Bill Belichick always says. You know, the game is 60 minutes. You have to play every second of it, and you have to play it as well as you can, all 60 minutes. And the Patriots, unfortunately, didn't do that. They had the Raiders backed up in their own end there with 4th down and 10, and they got a first down. And then the Raiders made some completions. There was only, 30 seconds left. They saw this long pass into the end zone. Hollins catches it, but his foot was out of bounds. I'm sorry. His foot was out of bounds. They showed it clearly. They zoomed in on his foot, and half of his foot was on the white line. So it should have been called an incomplete pass. For some reason, it was called a touchdown, and I still don't understand that. So that was unfortunate for the Patriots. So that tied the game. There's only, I think it's around 30 seconds left. Patriots, they're not moving the ball. They hand it off to Stevenson, and he makes a great run there. And he shouldn't have lateraled it. That was a mistake. He shouldn't have tried. They were going to go to overtime. The game was tied. They should have. I think the coaches should have said. Maybe they did. Maybe the coaches said, if there's no play there, just fall on it, and we'll see what we can do in overtime. And I think they would have done well in overtime. The offense was doing better at the end of the game. But I would say that their offense has got lots of problems. I think their defense is good, maybe not great. It's like last year. It kind of seems to be fading a little bit near the end of the season, whether they get tired or not. You don't hear Judon's name as much. That they aren't getting quite as many sacks. Oh, the defense is better than it was last year for sure. I mean, the stats are a lot better, and they don't give up that many points in a game. So But the offense is just very poor, and I agree with you that the coaching on the offensive side is very poor. I think that Mac Jones, I question whether he's the quarterback of the future for the Patriots. I really do. I mean, he gets all emotional out there. He's yelling at the coaches on during the game. That's wrong. You can't do that. The coaches are the ones that are leading the team. You're a player. You're an employee. You shouldn't be talking back to the coaches in public like that. That's wrong. And he's done it. He does it regularly now, and he gets all emotionally upset, and he can't perform. He throws these laser beam passes that are on the rise that nobody could catch. And you look at his stats; they were horrible, right? 13 of 31, 112 yards. The reason they stayed in that game was the running game. Ramondre Stevenson was the reason they stayed in that game. And I think they should seriously think about setting him down and let Zappy play.
I don't necessarily agree with that ending part, and we've been over this before, and I'm going to get into it again. But this game was there was a lot going on. First, you go down 17-3, thanks to Belichick's defense, and then you slowly crawl your way back to make it 24-17. Then the Raiders score a late game touchdown.
Well, that touchdown was a questionable touchdown. Should be protested. I think it could be protested because it was clear the guy's foot was out of bounds. The announcer said it. They called in their expert on they have the guy on the announcing that is an expert on the calls, and he said, "Oh yeah, the guy's foot's out of bounds," and suddenly they call it a touchdown. I don't get it. I really don't get that.
And then here's the thing: when you have you have other coaches from different teams, like the Cardinals, who are not a very good team. You have the Cardinals come out, and their defensive coordinator says, well, we take a look at their game plan. It's a lot of screen passes, short passes, and handoffs and short routes. And then he says, in a follow-up to that statement, it's like a defensive coordinator calling offensive plays. Well, he's right. Mac Jones last year looked like a very viable quarterback until very late in the year.
He had 3-4 games near the end that was stinkers.
He had what I like to call a rookie season, except the first 12 games were a great rookie season. And then he moved back into, mortality, and he became an actual rookie. He made rookie mistakes. The defense could not keep up with the rest of the teams that they were playing. Mac Jones played phenomenal against the Cowboys. Then Belichick gave up that huge play against CeeDee Lamb to lose that game. Mac Jones beat the number one seed in the Titans. Belichick's defense assisted with that. And then this year, Belichick decides to pick up two coaches who were with him before, but who were failures elsewhere, and get rid of the only viable offensive mind on that team. No other person on that team can call offense. Bill Belichick can't. Matt Patricia for sure can't.
I don't think they got rid of...
they let him go. They let Josh McDaniels go.
He got an offer that he accepted to be a head coach. It's not like they let him go.
I would have given him a raise. Give him a raise.
Well, they did. He was making way more money than he got to be head coach of the Raiders. So it was his choice to leave. He went for less money to be a head coach. How do you compete with that? He wanted to be a head coach, so
make it enticing. Here's the thing: when an actual competent offensive person's calling the plays, and you have a quarterback who's the greatest of all time, and people actually believe in the culture because it's working, you don't see these types of plays. You don't see your own players all of a sudden think on the fly and try to make a impartial decision. Ramondre Stevenson flipped to Jacoby Myers, could have been smart. Then Jacoby Myers decided to run 20 yards backwards and flip it to Mac Jones cross field. You would never see that with any team that believes in their own system. The Patriots do not believe in their own system, otherwise this wouldn't have happened.
That's a good point.
And I thank God Mac Jones is saying something, showing people that this is not working, because other players won't do anything.
He's going to wind himself. That I disagree. I don't think that he should be. He could do it behind the scenes. I think that's
Bill Belichick isn't even calling his own team
It's not fair to the team or the coaches for him to be out there crying like a little baby that he's unhappy with what the play calls are or the speed at which they're coming into the game. You know, that's not his thing.
Here's the thing we
that's
do.
the coach's thing.
Here's the thing we do, right? What about any other player? Any other player. Aaron Rodgers on the field. He complains about some stupid stuff, but not about his offense failing. He does it to the media. That's something I don't like. He calls out his team against the media.
During the game, you don't see him crying like a baby.
Yes, you do. Tom Brady, all the time screaming at his offensive lineman, all the time screaming.
No, but he's just not screaming at the coaches.
Because it's his players' fault. This time it isn't
He's
their
trying to
players' fault.
he's trying to get his players going. I think that's a motivational thing. It's a leadership skill.
Yes.
That's a leadership thing.
And here's the problem. When your players aren't the problem, why would you yell at them? When it comes to Tom Brady and maybe sometimes even Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, it's the player's fault. Brady yells his offensive line because he got pressured 30 times, 30% in the Bengals game. 20 against the 49ers. He was yelling again, barking at his offensive line. He got pressured 25% of his dropbacks. You see him yelling about that. When he gets pressured, he yells at his offensive lineman.
Okay, well, I think Matt Jones needs to show a little more maturity. And
he's
making
making people accountable.
Yeah.
No, you don't see Bill Belichick do it. You don't
It's
see Matt
not his
Patricia.
job to make the coaches accountable. The coaches make the players accountable.
But it's
not the other way
fault.
around.
I'm saying it's not Mac Jones' fault.
You wait and see whether Mac Jones winds up staying with the Patriots. I have my doubts.
Can I ask you this?
I'm sure Belichick is not happy with him.
Can I ask you this? Why the drastic regression from the first year to the last year? Because guess what? The offensive talent is the same, if not better, because they're another year they're another year with each other.
Yeah. Well.
What's the major difference? Is it Mac Jones all of a sudden becoming terrible? Or is it another influence that drastically changed how Mac Jones does the offense? Which way is it?
Well, maybe it's a little of both, but I do think he's regressed.
Yeah, but why? I'm asking you why, though, because if you're saying that Mac Jones is the same quarterback he was last year, and the only change is that his offensive play call is different, then that's not on Mac Jones. That's on the play calling. Because if it's really Mac Jones, we wouldn't have seen 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, a higher passer rating than Josh Allen, a higher completion percentage than Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, and Patrick Mahomes. We wouldn't have seen that. We wouldn't have seen him be up with. He was an average quarterback, and as a rookie, he blew out every other rookie in his draft class when it comes to stats, even wins. Well, he was brought into a perfect situation, and then the situation changed.
When you have adversity, you got to step up to it. And I don't think he's done a very good job of that.
We're not talking about one of the greatest of all time.
He's done adversity. He's got some adversity.
I'm not saying Mac Jones is an elite quarterback, but what I'm saying is that,
I agree with that.
I guarantee you put Daniel Jones in that situation. You put any quarterback who's average or below average, Ryan Tannehill, even I thought Jimmy G might be good, but these receivers have no separation whatsoever. You put any average to below average quarterback in the Patriots situation with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as your direct quarterback coach and as your offensive play caller. See how well they do. I'm not going to put this. Mac Jones has made some very bad mistakes. He threw that horrible interception after when he had his high ankle sprain against the Ravens. But through the first half, he looked really good. He threw for over 300 yards in that game. He
doesn't generally have a game where he's good all the way through the game.
And the Vikings game, where they should have won. Bill Belichick's defense and that special teams. Maybe should move Joe Judge back to special teams coach. Basically threw away the game. Mac Jones played great in that game. But guess what? It wasn't Mac Jones' fault in that game.
Yeah, well.
A lot of these games are not Mac Jones' fault. It just so happens is that their team is terrible. And Bill Belichick took a shot at Mac Jones saying that, we can't throw the ball that far. Throw it 65 yards? There's only maybe a handful of quarterbacks that can throw the ball 65 yards. No. And I'm not saying Mac Jones is one of them. But we're taking a look at it here. The drastic change is not from Mac Jones' rookie year to this year. It's a whole new offensive philosophy that's brought into. Because you have a defensive guy who the only offense he touched was offensive assistant back in 2005. Yeah, then you go to the Lions. The Lions are a disgrace. The Lions have been a poverty franchise for a long time. Now they're somewhat being relevant because their team is coming together. Dan Campbell's doing a phenomenal job. And Joe Judge with the Giants just haven't been a very good team since Eli Manning was on the team with OBJ back in 2016. Mostly because of who they built around them. The Patriots are looking here, and Bill Belichick is the de facto GM. That might be a horrible... That's probably one of the worst mistakes the Patriots have made. Belichick does pretty well drafting defensive guys. But when it comes to offensive talent, he may be one of the worst drafters I've ever seen. He picked N'Keal Harry in the first round, Cole Strange, who isn't great, he's okay in the first round.
Let me remind you, he picked Tom Brady.
The
greatest player of all time. Bill Belichick selected him.
In the 6th round.
Nobody else picked him. Bill Belichick did.
Yes. Now we're doing 23 years ago. How about,
You said he's one of the worst in picking offensive players. He picked the best player to ever play the game.
When's his last phenomenal pick on offense?
Tom Brady.
23 years ago.
Okay, well.
Update your resume.
He picked the best player ever to play the game.
Update your resume. If we're going back 23 years ago.
There have been some other good players
Yikes.
he drafted, too. He drafted some good offensive linemen, right? Shaq Mason's a good offensive lineman.
He's not even on the team anymore.
But he did draft him.
He's not doing that well in the
Shaq
Bucs.
Mason.
He's not doing that well in the Bucs.
He played well for the Patriots when he was with the Patriots. Shaq Mason.
They had a phenomenal offensive line coach as well.
So did Marcus Cannon. It's not bad.
Marcus Cannon is not that good.
Yeah, and
get out.
Joe Thuney, who left.
They let him go.
They left him free agency because he got a lot more money than they were willing to pay. He was a good draft pick.
Belichick seems to spend a lot of money in free agency, but he won't get his own
How about
talent.
Gronk? They drafted Gronk. Would you say he was a good pick?
Yeah, he was a great pick. He just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah. No, but he stayed healthy enough to have a record number of TD passes from Brady.
Outside having some of the greatest players of all time, Tom
Brady.
Gronk
was a pretty good pick.
What I'm saying is, outside of this, when you actually need to build a team, so you don't have Tom Brady for several years, you don't have Randy Moss for 3 years, you don't have Gronk for 6, 7, 8 years, you don't have Aaron Hernandez, who's a really, really good tight end for 3-4 years. When you don't have somewhat consistency, when you actually need to build a team, how good is Belichick? When Brady left, Josh McDaniels did a very good job flipping from an offense that uses basically no mobility in the quarterback spot to a lot of mobility. Cam Newton had one of the most rushing touchdowns in the league.
Last year they made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback
and got blown out by the team.
They made the playoffs, so they won 10 games. Right?
I'd rather miss the playoffs than not allow a punt in 2 consecutive games against that team. Yeah. And that actually went 10 straight quarters without the Bills punting, because this season it took them 3 quarters to punt. In the 3rd quarter, they punted for the first time. It was embarrassing.
Well,
so and this, I'm not saying.
Who are they playing this week? The Bengals. They're playing the Bengals,
yeah, they're playing the Bengals. They're gonna get blown out.
I would say if Mac Jones is lousy in the first half, bench him.
For Bailey Zappi?
Yeah, why not? Give him a try.
Nope.
He played pretty well in the 2 games he won. Yeah, I'd say give him a try.
Not a chance.
He's got his own. His passes are pretty zippy. Zappy.
So then cut him. So then trade Mac Jones next season.
I don't know.
Start
what about
all
that?
over again.
Yeah, maybe they will. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm telling you right now. These coaches need to be.
I'm sure. I don't know. We live in New York, so I would love to know what the Boston sports announcers were saying about that game this week, huh? How the fans feel about their quarterback up there. I'd love to know more about that.
I'd say the people on the field making the plays get blamed the most. For instance, when a team
and
wins,
rightfully so, they're the ones making the decisions out there, right? When the ball is snapped,
they don't
the
call
quarterback
the plays.
makes the decision.
They don't call the plays.
No, but once the play is called, they drop back, and a lot of different things can happen.
But
right, the play can break down, and they can go to another, or they change the play at the line of scrimmage. Right, there's lots of things. The players make the decisions out on the field after the play is called.
And a lot of the great quarterbacks have great offensive talent around them and have a great offensive mind in their ear, saying, let's go with this play. Except Bill Belichick, he sort of hinted before, the only time he actually decided to take accountability was when he said that, we're probably not getting the play called in time.
Yeah, well,
that's Matt Patricia figuring out what play, because he doesn't know. He's staring at his play sheet like, let's see, they're maybe going 2-2-1 coverage. Let's see, where's my... Okay, let's go. Okay, Mac Jones, let's do Y Bravo XZ2. And then it's 15 seconds left. The headset cuts off, and Mac Jones has to call it out. Maybe half the play's cut off. He's got to call timeout.
I'm not saying that the coaching is perfect there, and I think that it's poor. It's definitely a step down from what it was last year, that's for sure. But I don't think that the way Mac Jones reacted to it is appropriate.
The players
doesn't show leadership. He's supposed to be a leader out there. The quarterback is an important leader for the team, and he's not. I don't think he's setting a very good example.
So if Mac Jones won't keep the off, or if Mac Jones is having a tough time being the leader on the team, who is the leader? who's the veteran there? Because on defense, it's Devin McCourty. On the offense,
I don't think they have one.
On the offense, without Tom Brady, it was Julian Edelman. Without Julian Edelman, Tom Brady, Devin McCourty's on defense. Matt Slater's is just a team guy. He's never out there on offense. He has one catch in his career as a wide receiver. Who's the leader on offense? If it's not Mac Jones,
I guess it's Stevenson.
Who's holding? So it's a second-year running back.
Well, he's the best player they've got on the offense by far.
If a player can't be the leader, it's up to the coach. And you don't see Matt Patricia coming up to the microphone holding himself and the offense accountable. It's all Mac Jones on the field because no one else is doing it. And we're taking a look here. The offense is so bad, and part of it is on Mac Jones. But the majority of it is who's giving him the plays, who's designing the plays. And I'm going to give even some of it on to Bill Belichick because of the talent he decides to put around Mac Jones. If you have a B receiver at best, and he's known for dropping a lot of passes, and you don't play some of your best receivers, you have Tyquan Thornton out there instead of Kendrick Bourne, who I think is one of their best receivers that they have on the team. What can you do? Kendrick Bourne, his snap count is decreased drastically. He had a beautiful 40-yard catch against the Dolphins. This is only catch in the game. He only had one catch. That was that 40-yard pass.
Yeah, well.
Formations and offense building is a serious problem.
Yeah, well, Patriots certainly have their problems, that's for sure. We're not used to it. We've been spoiled over the years by how good they were, and now it's tough to take when they're not that good. That's very hard to take. That's what I would say.
I think I picked the Patriots going either 9-8 or 8-9 this season. If Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are both calling offense or having a touch in the offense instead of being their actual spots, and by the way, Bill Belichick has two of his sons on his team. Give me a break here. You have old players on his team, not actually great. Gerard Mayo's okay. Steve Belichick, while his facial expressions make him seem like a kook, he's okay. But other than that, there's not. I mean,
I think their defense is pretty good. I really do. I think the defense is good.
Their defense, Josh Uche, Matt Judon.
They've had some injuries on the defense too.
They lost Barmore.
They had all of their players all year long. They could have been even better, but they've have a decent defense.
Yeah, I'll give you that. All right, let's get into. We've mentioned Tom Brady before, but let's get into that game because that was a weird game, very very weird game. So let's break it down. So Tom Brady. Let's see here. After being up 17-3 in the first half, Tom Brady made it. That was all on the offense. Tom Brady doing tremendously. The defense stepping up when it needed to against a very, very good Bengals team. Joe Burrow and the Bengals roared back and outscored Tom Brady and the Buccaneers 31-6 in the second half to get the win. Was this loss more about Brady or about the Bengals?
It says more about the Bengals. I think Brady, he's one person out there. The rest of the team is really a big decline from what it was last year, and the year before when they won the Super Bowl. I think I would point to the coaching staff there. I think that there's a weakness there. I think if it were, what's his name, who coached them last year?
Bruce Arians.
If he were down there, I think that they'd be playing better. I do. I think Todd Bowles, I respect him as a coach. I think he's a very good coordinator. Head coach wise, I don't think so. He shows no emotion over there. He just kind of out there watching the game, see what happens. They don't seem to play hard as they played for Arians for him. So it's unfortunate. I'm sure Brady's pretty upset. They're still first place with a 6-8 record. So
somehow
the division is very poor. But now they play. It's all division games the rest of the way. I think, or two of the
last three.
Two of the last three are division games. They got to win those two. Figure out a way to beat other teams that are quite poor to make sure they at least get into the playoffs. I don't think they're going very far in the playoffs, though. They're really disappointing. I mean, they got up 17-0, and then they wind up losing like that. It's very poor.
Well, they're going to catch a break, or depending on how this team has been playing, maybe not, because they play Colt McCoy next, who didn't play so great. That they brought in Trace McSorley. He didn't do very well. Threw 2 interceptions. But then the Bucs got extremely lucky this week. The Panthers lost. The Falcons lost. Both teams were 5-8 going into this week. The Bucs now became they're now what 6-8 now, and the Panthers lost, moving to 5-9. If the Panthers won that game, they'd be first in the NFC South, which is crazy because originally with Baker Mayfield, I had them making the playoffs as the 7th seed. That's a little weird. So when it comes to this game, you're putting. Well, let's break it down. What percentages would you base it on? Would you say what? Well, give me a percentage of who you put the blame on. Or actually, you said it was the Bengals. So
I never put the blame on one player. I don't think you can put all the blame.
You put a lot of it on Mac Jones.
Yeah, but I don't think it was all his fault. I'd said the offense only has one good player for the Patriots, really, Stevenson. So I don't put all the blame on Mac Jones, but I think Brady played better in his game than Mac Jones played in his, right? What were Brady's stats in the game against the Bengals? I mean, Brady suffered because they had no running game. They know he's going to throw it every time.
312, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks.
312 yards.
Yep.
3
touchdowns, 2 picks, 2 fumbles.
2 fumbles.
4 total turnovers.
Did he lost both fumbles too?
I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
So let me jump right into it.
He must have been under a lot of pressure then.
30% of these snaps, he was under pressure. Most that he's had in a very, very long time.
So their offensive line has been a disaster this year.
It has been, with a lot of pieces moving. But I'm going to put 100% blame on Tom Brady. I hold the people or the players who cost the game fully accountable. When it was the Chiefs against the Bucs, I held the Bucs defense accountable because they could not stop Patrick Mahomes. Could not stop him. Last year, we weren't doing the show last year when it came to the Chiefs-Bucs game, or 2 years ago at this point, where Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first quarter, which is ridiculous. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter of the first half. Crazy. That's on the Bucs defense. I hold people who cost them the game accountable. Tom Brady had all of the Bucs turnovers. Every single one of them. 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. They opened up the second half with a fake punt, which Gio Bernard, he got pressured by the media after the game, which I don't like because the reporters walked up to him and asked him right in his face. He either forgot what the play was, he forgot that it's a fake punt, he missed the read or something, muffs a punt, able to recover it, but they're at like they were on like their own 30-yard line. The Bengals are well into Buccaneers territory. Easy score there. Opening up the second half, they had 5 consecutive turnovers. 5. Most of them in their own zone. It gave the Bengals an easy opportunity to score. This is the problem with Jameis Winston back in 2019. He threw 32 interceptions or whatever. He had 35 turnovers. The defense would get tired from being on the field every, 5th pass. And this was Tom Brady in the second half. And this late game touchdown was with like a minute remaining in the game. That's what we like to call garbage time. A lot of these yards and a touchdown that Brady had was in garbage time. We are seeing a Tom Brady who is more paranoid to get hit than ever. Last year, it was a little bit of that, but he still had a great offensive line behind him. Alex Kappa, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Tristan Wirfs, Donovan Smith. This year, the pieces have moved. Ryan Jensen's out. Ali Marpet retired. Alex Kappa's on the Bengals. You have Tristan Wirfs and Donovan Smith. Tristan Wirfs, who was hurt. Donovan Smith, who was the most penalized offensive lineman or player in the league. We are seeing Brady, if it hits 2.5 seconds, he's throwing it in the dirt. Whether someone's open or not. His mental clock's ticking and ticking and ticking. And once it hits a certain point, he's like, oh, I'm going to get hit if I don't throw it away. And that's what he does. Even if that's not true. His offensive line collapses. Like I said, 30% of his dropbacks he got pressured in. The most in a very long time. Before, actually, it was 25% against the 49ers. What was it, last week? I said they would suffer their second consecutive blowout loss. And I hit it right on the head. I didn't expect the Buccaneers to score 23 points, though, which is something. I'm putting this on Tom Brady. I'm taking a look at 3-12, 3 touchdowns. I'm saying, okay, that's good. And then I see the two interceptions and the 2 fumbles. The Buccaneers cannot play 4 quarters of the game. Like you said, Bill Belichick says there's 60 minutes in every game. First half, Buccaneers look really good. Scoring touchdowns. The offense was moving. The defense was able to stop Jamar Chase. I mean, I believe Carlton Davis was covering Jamar Chase. Held him to held him to 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown, but most of that game, he was shut down through at least the first half. And then the second half comes up. They weren't able to run the ball that well in the second half. In the first half, they were running the ball pretty well. In the second half, they could not run the ball well. Brady, like I said, 5 consecutive turnovers. It was just bad. Brady accounted for every single one of the Buccaneers' turnovers. It was a bad game. It was a very, very bad game. And Todd Bowles plays conservative. If they're 4th and 1, 4th and 2, he punts it, which is not great. But, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. Because throughout most of the year, if Leonard Fournette was given a 4th and 1, he wouldn't be able to get through. It would be a turnover on downs. So I'm taking a look at this Buccaneers team. It's not a good team. They will lose because they'll probably play the Cowboys, although we're not going to get into this, but it looks like Jalen Hurts may not be able to go against the Cowboys on Christmas Eve due to a sprained shoulder. Their point spread moved from Cowboys -2.5 to Cowboys -6, if that's the case. So when we make our picks on Friday, the 23rd, we might be able to get into that more.
Who's the backup quarterback for the
Gardner
Eagles?
Minshew.
He's not bad.
He's a viable quarterback,
Yeah.
but he's nothing special. But when it comes to this Buccaneers team, Tom Brady himself has played average. He's not played terrible. On Tom Brady's standards, he'd be a third-string quarterback. If we're talking about Tom Brady standards.
Yeah, well, I think that he's suffered from not having the offensive line has been the issue because they don't have a running game, and they can't keep Brady protected long enough.
Yeah.
So he's been sacked a lot, and he's under a lot of pressure. So those two things, I mean, they know he's going to throw it, and they know that the offensive line's a sieve, and they can rush through and sack him. So it's been a tough year for him. No doubt about it.
Joe Burrow had only 200 yards in this game.
4 TDs, though.
He did have 4 TDs and a touchdown. Or an interception, sorry. He did not have a great game. He did not have a great game. He was able to convert on, 40-yard drives, 35-yard drives. Because it'd be a Brady fumble here. It would be a Brady interception there. It was a fake punt to open up the second half. It was, and I'm not blaming this was on Tom Brady. I'm just saying that failed fake punt was a snowball effect to what's to come.
Probably shouldn't have done that.
You got to have something. I mean, I don't know. First of all, you're at like your 35-yard line. You're doing a fake punt. If you can't get a 4th and 1 with Leonard Fournette, why are you doing a fake punt at all? And Gio Bernard, he hasn't even really touched the offense, and he was like that James White hybrid running back that Brady loves, the receiving back on third down. He was on special teams. He was benched. You got Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt.
That's on the coaches.
It is. And then the offense does not look creative. The offensive line, like you said, is a sieve. But this one's on Brady. If Brady had 1 turnover and they still ended up losing this, I would say, okay, the defense couldn't stop him. The defense couldn't finish it. If he had 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, no fumbles, I'll be like, okay, that was the defense's fault. Tom Brady played relatively well. 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. That's okay. But then you take a look at it, he said, he had every single one of the Buccaneers' turnovers. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's on Brady because he gave him short
It's tough to
field.
win when you turn the ball over 4 times.
It is. So I'm going to give this one on Brady. Not many times I blame Brady fully, but this one was completely on him.
He probably agrees with you.
He should. It was his fault. Yeah. But coming up, we discuss how the Commanders should feel about their Sunday Night Football loss against the Giants. We recap our biggest wins and losses from Week 15, and we preview a matchup between the Jets and the Jaguars this Thursday night on Amazon Prime Video right after this.
Introducing Video Podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
Podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. We're talking about Sunday night football, Giants, Commanders. I'm going to start with this. First of all, Giants won this game 20-12. Taylor Heineke did not have a good game by all means, and we're going to get into this. But I took a look earlier today. The playoff movement has not changed. Both these teams are still in the playoffs after this. The Seahawks are still not in the playoffs. They have a 7-7 record, but are not in the playoffs. So this did not move the who's in, who's out of the playoffs whatsoever.
Just flipped the spot.
It just flipped it 6-7. So I'm going to ask you, after the Giants took this win, the Giants are able to get an important victory. Daniel Jones' first win in a night game, 0-9 to start his career, but it came with some questionable calls and some missed calls. So I'm going to ask you, how do you think the Commanders should feel after dropping this game to the Giants?
Robbed.
Robbed.
Yeah.
How so?
Because the touchdown, what would have been a touchdown at the end of the game, the guy was wrapped around the receiver. He was bear hugging him, basically. And the ball went to him. He couldn't put his hands around it because he was being bear hugged. And they didn't call a pass interference. How could they not?
I think we actually,
how could they miss that play?
I think we actually have that clip.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Well, no. So Terry McLaurin at the very top of the screen, he's checked with the ref saying, "Am I okay? Am I okay?" The ref says yes, and then he gets flagged immediately for illegal formation. So that's on both their parts though. But he got a okay.
Well, he asked if he was okay.
Yeah,
and they said he was.
Right, and then
I think the refs. This right here. Look at that. That is pass interference, and they didn't call it. Look.
A complete bear hug.
Look at that. He's hanging on to his arm. That's ridiculous. I can't believe they didn't call pass interference there.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty brutal.
And that was a play, the drive before that, the guy, they called him for a pick, right? But they scored a touchdown, and they said that the other receiver was blocking the defensive back. Maybe that's a okay call. But that one, I'm sorry. That's a very poor call. No call there. Should have been a call. Should have got another chance.
I'm gonna say you should still feel you should feel okay because you're still in the playoffs.
Well,
you're still in the playoffs. Taylor Heineke's still in the playoffs, but Colin Cowherd did say this yesterday in his show. He said if it comes down to one call in the game to lose or win you the game, you clearly didn't play well enough to actually win the game. Because if it's down to one call. Well, if you would have beaten them, you barely beat them.
I don't agree with that.
You're not worthy. It's the Giants, Daniel Jones. First of all, enough of this Daniel Jones is so great. Yeah, he throws 15 passes a game, completes 14 of them for 160 yards. Because he's throwing 5 yards an attempt. And that's because that's the thing. It's just like, oh, we have bad receivers, all they're hurt. Well, some of that is true. Yes, some of your receivers are hurt.
Yeah,
Brian Dable is utilizing the offense that works. You won because at the very end of the game, Saquon Barkley had like 5 explosive runs to continue your drives. That's why you won the game. In a lot of these games, you have over 150 yards rushing, and most of them are Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, well, the Giants' offense, they basically have 2 players, Jones and Barkley is head and shoulders over Jones.
Absolutely.
They really don't have much on offense. I give Dable a lot of credit.
He's coach of the
probably
year.
the coach of the year for sure.
I said that.
I didn't
we're
think the
talking about
Giants
week
would
4.
win another game. I didn't think they would win another game, and they managed to tie Washington and then beat Washington. I thought that they were pretty much done.
Right.
But they're hanging around, and I give him a lot of credit because I don't think they really don't have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And their defensive coordinator, I give him a lot of credit too. He's done an excellent job.
Yeah.
With the talent, with the players that they've got. I picked Washington to win this game. I thought they would beat them.
The thing that bothers me the most, and I hear this so many times because I have like 2-3 friends that are Giants fans. When your team loses, it's, oh, the defense is hurt. Oh, we have no players on defense. But when that same team beats another team and you keep them to 20 points, 12 points in this case, our defense is so good. Look at Dexter Lawrence out there. Oh, look at what's his name? What's it? Anthony? No, that's a basketball player. Adoree Jackson. Look at him out there. Julian Love. Look at him. It's the same players that are on defense that you say, oh my God, our defense is terrible. Look at how we lost this game. It's our defense's fault. It's the same roster you win with. It's the same roster you beat the Packers with. It's the same roster you beat the Ravens with. It's the same team that you're beating teams with. It's just the offensive side when it comes to this it's Saquon or bust. That's most. There was one game where your offense was in pure sync. I can't think of the word. But Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley each had over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
That was the first time your offense played very well. Since then, it's Saquon or bust. Really. A lot of the recent games that you played, whether it be the Lions or any team or any game before that, where Saquon just got shut down.
I would say it's even a greater credit to him that most teams know that he's really the only player and they can't stop him.
Yeah.
I mean, some games they have stopped him and the Giants lose.
Right.
Right? I mean, there were a few games where he only had like 30 yards or so. They lose those games. The games that he plays well in, they have a good chance to win, and most of them they have won.
Right.
And I know that they're keying on him because they know that the Giants really don't have much else on offense.
Yeah. I don't know how many people would put Taylor Heineke over Daniel Jones. Taylor Heineke had more yards, more yards per completion, more touchdowns, a higher passer rating, got sacked more.
He fumbled the ball.
They still ended up losing because, yes, the call at the very end, they would still need to get the 2-point conversion after that, but
he fumbled it there.
They got very lucky.
That was poor.
This team, though, did not play great. They've battled it.
I don't
back,
think they have a great team either.
They don't. No.
I mean, they do have McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin, yeah.
McLaurin, he's good.
Curtis Samuel's okay.
And I like Heineke. He's a feisty. He's very enthusiastic. He's a motivator. He really is. He takes it very seriously. You can tell.
But when it comes to actual talent, though, he's not up there.
He may not be the most talented, but he makes up for it with his enthusiasm and his competitiveness. I really think that he's number one in those categories. He really is something. I like that in him. I think that he should remain their starter.
Yeah.
Going forward, maybe next year.
Question of who they can get with their if they can get a quarterback with a lot of talent, maybe put him in. See how he does in the preseason. See how he does in training camp.
You know what? I think they will. Maybe they'll try to draft a quarterback and ditch Carson Wentz, and Heineke it will be his job to lose. You know, and a rookie would watch him play for a year or so.
You know what wouldn't.
But I think that guy, he is a very competitive guy, and he takes it very seriously. So I love that in him.
You know, I could see two teams. Let's say they keep Heineke, which you thought they should do.
I predicted this, Nate. I told you that Carson Wentz was not going to make it, and Heineke was going to come in. And look how well he's done. I mean, they have a great record.
He brought his team into the playoffs.
Yeah, how they managed to lose to the Giants is beyond me. Well, they had a little help. That's what I would say.
When it comes to this, I'm going to make a little bit of a prediction here. If they do decide to get rid of Carson Wentz, I could see two teams where he can go to. The first one being the 49ers as a backup, even though I think Brock Purdy is probably going to solidify that job.
Yeah, I don't think he's going there.
The second team would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to need a quarterback. Kyle Trask is not the guy. Blaine Gabbert for sure is not the guy. They're going to need someone who's actually,
Jimmy G could be headed there.
Maybe. Even though I think Jimmy G might go to the Giants because I think that's more, you still have a really good offensive talent in Brian Dable.
You know what? I think the Giants will bring back Daniel
Jones?
Daniel Jones, yeah.
as a
They'll be able to
starter,
get him as a good. They'll be able to get him in a good deal, and he hasn't played that. He hasn't played that poorly.
There's no other team.
He's improved a lot over last year.
Yes.
And the years before,
Yes.
he's improved a lot. He doesn't turn the ball over now.
That's the biggest thing.
And I think the coaching has helped him a lot. Babel having him as his coach.
That's for sure.
I think maybe they'll give him another chance.
Daniel Jones and Mac Jones.
I don't think the fans would be against that either. I think they have warmed up to him this year because there's a winning record.
Daniel Jones and Mac Jones have the complete. Their careers have been flipped entirely. Daniel Jones last year was the 26th ranked quarterback in the league with a not great head coach. And he had a couple coordinators going in and out. Jason Garrett, Freddie Kitchens coming in. You bring a really good offensive talent in Brian Daboll. Develop Josh Allen's game. Refine Josh Allen's game. Made him into a top 5 quarterback. Daniel Jones has performed above average because that's how the offense runs.
How's he ranked, Daniel Jones, quarterback-wise?
That's a good
He's
question.
probably not ranked that high, actually.
I guarantee you he's probably top 15.
I think he's been a good game manager this year.
Yes. And that was that's what Brian Daboll made his offense to be. It's Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And then once he gets going,
They
you're able
don't
to do
really
play
have
action.
much at wide receiver. They don't have too much at wide receiver. Slayton is really their only good guy there.
CBS Sports has Daniel Jones at 14th.
14th. Well, it's not too bad. Seems like he'd probably get an offer from another team.
But I'm not too sure about that. I'm really not. I'll see if I can find other, like, for instance, here, let's go. Or this is fantasy football ranks. I'm not gonna do that, but it looks like let's see what the Ringer says about this. Daniel Jones. They put Daniel Jones as the 22nd best quarterback according to QBRankings.theringer.com, which I don't think is a very.
Where do they rank Mac Jones?
25th. 25th.
Mac Jones?
Yeah.
Surprised he's that high.
They described him as this. They gave him two traits: system quarterback and deceptive eyes. The description is already a smart distributor. He'll need to evolve physically to establish himself as a franchise quarterback.
Who are they saying that about?
That's Mac Jones.
Yeah. I would say holds the ball too long and he complains too much.
The motivation you're talking about with Taylor Heineke, that's what Mac Jones is doing, except the players don't need it. The coach needs it because he's terrible. But right now, when it comes to the Commanders, they should feel great. And originally, I was going to pose the question as, is this the recipe for the Giants to potentially win a playoff game?
Well, there's still three games left.
There
right?
is.
And who do the Giants have left?
Just about to bring that up. They play the Vikings. That's a loss. Colts. That's going to be an interesting game. That's going to be interesting. And then the Eagles. So at least 2 losses.
They're going to lose 2 out of 3. And how about the Commanders?
The Commanders go up and play. Let's bring this up right now. They got the 49ers, Browns, and Cowboys. 1 win.
It's pretty tough.
1 win.
So both of them probably get 1 win. They may maybe with the Seahawks. Who do they have left?
You're making me move all over the place. Let's see if I can bring that up quickly. The Seahawks, after losing to the 49ers, have to go up against the Chiefs, lost, Jets, that'll be interesting, and Rams. That'll be an interesting game.
Chiefs,
Jets, Rams.
So they could
2 wins.
win. They could win 2. So they could knock off one of those teams. It'd probably be Washington because the Giants have the tiebreaker against Washington, right?
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how the NFL does moving forward. But
so this is Heineke's opportunity. If he could win those a couple of those tough games, I think it says something. So we'll see. I'll be rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. I like that guy.
He's a great story coming right out of college, going up against Tom Brady, his first ever start.
Yeah, he was hurt badly in that game.
Toe to toe.
And he stayed in that game. They had nobody.
It was a one-score game. I think it was 31 to 23 or 26.
He played very well. He hardly ever played before, right?
Yeah,
they let him play.
I think the story is he was finishing up his college classes and he needed to postpone a final because he had to go play in that playoff game.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting. He comes in, loses his job.
He showed a lot of guts in that
Carson
game.
Hey, no, he started 1 year, didn't play that well, but that team was in
Well, they made a
shambles.
mistake not letting him start this year. What would their record be if he'd started every game?
I think Carson Wentz started 3 games. They got blown out by the Eagles, and
Carson Wentz made 1,000 mistakes in the times he stayed. He turned the ball over. He played very poorly.
Through the first 3 weeks, though, he was just like Joe Flacco. He was like top 3 in passing yards, which is shocking.
Yeah.
But
Then he fell apart.
He fell apart, yeah. So Commanders feel okay. They're still in the playoffs. I gotta give them that. It's just a tough loss. Loss. That's why I'm not saying they should feel good or great. But let's get into our Week 15 recap. Who are our biggest wins and losses? And I believe we should have it up right now. Yeah, we do.
I was happy with my results.
Yeah. Let's see if these are not the updated ones. I'll try to get the updated ones right now. But while we're doing that, you want to do the? Let's see if I can get it up right now. Let's do your picks right now. Let's do your picks.
Okay, so I knew San Francisco was going to win. That was even Brock Purdy at quarterback. He has so much talent around him. It made it pretty easy, and that he plays reasonably well. Yeah, I think he doesn't make any dumb. He doesn't seem to make dumb decisions out there. He's a good game manager. I think he played pretty well. His stats are every week. He throws a couple of touchdowns, throws 22, 23 passes, completes most of them. So it looks good. I got the Vikings right. The end of the first half, I wasn't too confident. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Missed on the point spread there, just barely. I thought the Ravens would win even without Lamar in there. I thought the defense would be good enough to beat the Clowns, as you call them. But didn't happen, so I lost that one. Buffalo, that was a fun game to watch with it snowing up there. And I knew Miami wasn't going to win up there in the cold weather. And I would say Miami's chances of going very far are not good now because they're going to have to go back to Buffalo if they get far, and then it's going to be even colder, So I don't think Miami's chances are very good, getting very deep into the playoffs. Kansas City won. I wasn't surprised by that. They missed on the point spread. Poor Houston. They've been in a lot of games this year against good teams, and they just can't seem to win one. So I don't know what will happen with Lovie Smith next year. I'd give him another year. He doesn't have much talent there, and he's been competitive in a lot of the games there, even though they've only won one game, and they'll have a good draft pick. I knew the Steelers were going to win, and I got the point spread right too.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. I knew they would win there. I think Mike Tomlin, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a great coach, and I think the Steelers will be very competitive next year. And the Lions, I knew they would beat the Jets too, and I put that one on Zach Wilson throwing that interception that turned into 3 points that made the difference in the game. And I don't think Zach Wilson is a franchise quarterback. I'm sorry. Cowboys, they lost.
They lost. Yep.
Amazingly.
40 to.
I was very surprised
32
that they lost to Jackson. Jacksonville still has a shot at the playoffs.
They are one game out of the number one seed.
Yeah.
In the.
I think Doug Peterson could be a candidate for Coach of the Year too if they got into the playoffs. I think, but I think the Jacksonville has a lot of talent because they've been so bad for so long. They had a lot of high draft picks. They've got some good players. And Peterson's starting to bring that talent out in his coaching, which is good for them. Eagles won. They've only lost one game this year, but missed on the point spread. Oh, well. I think the Eagles, it'll be interesting to see how they do in the playoffs, right? Last year they did lousy in the playoffs.
Recently they've kept games relatively, except against the Giants, because the Giants are just usually a disaster. But recently some of the games have been pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. They haven't played as well in the second half as they did the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saints won. Yeah. The Falcons. Yeah.
They're still in it, though.
They're still in it, but not very good. The Saints, are they still in it?
I think they're at the bottom of the. Actually,
Really?
they might not be anymore. I'll look it up right now. But continue your picks, and we'll get back to that.
Okay. Broncos won. Yeah. I didn't. The Cardinals, they got problems.
Every single team is still in it.
Every single team.
It's Tampa at 6-8, Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta all 5-9.
Yeah.
Worst team in the NFL.
Worst division.
Division.
Broncos won. Patriots. I'll never forget that game. Unfortunately, that was tough at the end. I thought they had it won. 4th and 10, and they couldn't stop them. You got to play every minute. Got to play every second of 60 minutes, and they didn't. The Bengals, then I thought the Bucs were going to win. First half looked good. Bengals came back. As you said, Tom Brady turned it over 4 times. You can't turn it over 4 times and expect to win. The Chargers, looks like they're going to be the number 6 seed in the AFC now. And they knocked the Patriots now on the outside looking in. Doesn't look good for them. And the Titans, are they still a playoff team?
The Titans are in the number 1 seed in the AFC South.
Are they? Okay.
Jacksonville's one.
I got to tell you, Derrick Henry, he's a load, man. That guy is something. He played well in that game against the Chargers, but they lost it at the end. But I think they're going to make the playoffs, and the Titans, I think, will be decent in the playoffs if Tannehill doesn't have a game like he had last year. Coming out first pass through an interception.
Yeah.
Okay, Washington Giants. I feel bad for the Commanders. I thought that play at the end there where the guy was wrapped all around the receiver should have been a pass interference and get another shot at a touchdown. Didn't happen. So I think the Commanders, I'm rooting for them. I hope they can win a couple games at the end of the season, make it into the playoffs. It'd be great. And Green Bay won. They're still not dead, right? The Rams are dead now. I don't know about Baker Mayfield. He didn't look so great last night, right? What did he throw? Only 12 passes or so. Not very much. Yeah.
He got sacked, I think, 5 times, if I'm not mistaken. He got obliterated. That offensive line was, you talk about a sieve for the Bucs offensive line. The Rams, that was a sieve.
Yeah. So it is what it is, and looking forward to the game on Thursday night.
5 sacks, yeah. He got sacked 5 times. It was pretty rough. But let's break it down now. By the way, I mentioned the Packers can only win if they rush it 35 times. They rushed it 28 times.
Yeah, they won.
Or include, well, I guess technically technically if you include the backup running back or the third string running back and Aaron Rodgers, they actually ran it 35 times.
They have good running backs.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, 17 carries, 90 yards. A.J. Dillon, 11 carries, 36 yards. So, not that bad. A.J. Dillon had 2 rushing touchdowns, though. So, I told you that's the way they're going to win. They ended up winning that. So, nailed it on that. All right, let's get down to my picks. You went 12-4 for the win-loss column. That's pretty good. I went, I think, 13-3. So, slightly better. But let's...
You beat me?
Oh, yeah, I beat you. Yeah, because... What game did I? Oh yeah, I picked the Raiders, which was the push ahead of you this week.
Yeah, you got a good record there, 136-72. That's
I'm
nice
I'm very
there.
happy with that.
You're not doing bad on the spread either.
No, I'm about 20 games over 500 there. So let's bring it down. We're taking a look at it here. The first game we talked about this on Friday.
I think it's 18 games over on the spread.
I said about 20.
Well, that's
about
18
20.
is 2 away from 20.
About 20.
Yeah.
So we talked about the 49ers game back on Friday, Thursday night game. Brock Purdy seems legit so far. Like I said, in the playoffs.
Playoffs a whole different story.
When the defense is not going to be able to step up as it may, we might see the true Brock Purdy, the one that, is Mr. Irrelevant. But right now he's Mr. Irrelevant. So you got to take it at face value. Next one, Colts. Vikings, Saturday, did not look too good. We covered this already. Vikings were able to come back. Largest comeback in NFL history. Matt Ryan is now on the side of 2 of the biggest upsets in NFL history. One is the largest Super Bowl upset in Super Bowl 51, Falcons, Patriots. And now he's in the regular season record books, 33 up, now losing 39-3 in the second half of that game. So it's pretty brutal for Matt Ryan. I feel bad for him, but... according to CBS, he's like the 29th best quarterback in the league, which is not great at all.
I would say that defense, the Colts defense, deserves a little bit of blame there.
In the second half, they fell apart.
39 points in the second half.
Yeah, no, and I'll give you that. Next game, the Cleveland Clowns. I knew without Lamar Jackson basically being a huge part of that offense, they were going to win. Deshaun Watson did not
What's
play
wrong
that
with
bad.
Lamar? What's the injury?
I think it's he got sacked, and I think it's a leg injury. He's missed his 7th consecutive practice. We thought the first report was he would be out until Christmas. It looks like he might miss the game on either Christmas or Christmas Eve. So he may be out a whole extra week. So once again, I thought the Ravens would not be the number one team of the AFC North. It looks like that's coming true. But Cleveland Clowns able to get it done. Deshaun Watson did pretty well. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they ran efficiently, effectively, and able to get the win, but it's only 13-3. Not that great. The next game, Dolphins, Bills. The Bills got very lucky. It started to blizzard 6 minutes left in the game, and that's when the Bills were able to run the ball effectively, get first down, score. Josh Allen made a great touchdown throw on the run. Tua and the Dolphins through 3 quarters and 6 minutes, or 8 minutes, actually outplayed the Bills through most of it, but the Bills were able to get the win. But I got the Dolphins to cover the +7, so there we go. The Chiefs-Texans game was very, very weird. I took a look at that stat line. They had 500 yards, the Chiefs did, compared to 250 from the Texans. But it went to overtime, and the Chiefs were barely able to eke out a win on a rushing touchdown in overtime to win. They didn't cover the -14, so there we go. The next one, we're looking at Steelers-Panthers. I thought the Panthers may be able to cover this game, but I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. Quite unfortunate, but good for the Steelers. Mitch Trubisky did not throw a pick at all. Sam Darnold did not play well. They could not run the ball very well, so good for the Steelers. They were able to get this win, but they need to win out in order for Mike Tomlin to keep up his 17-year consecutive streak of not having a losing season. So will they get it? Probably not. The Lions and Jets. You put this one on Zach Wilson. I'm not. Because I said Zach Wilson, in order for him to retain this position and not give it up, he would need to throw for about 260 yards, a little over 50% completion percentage, a couple touchdowns, and maybe 1 or 2 interceptions. He had 312 yards, or over 300 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and barely above 50% completion percentage. So about what I predicted, just a decent amount more yards than I thought. So good for Zach Wilson, but Jared Goff was able to get it done. Late game drive, able to seal the deal and beat the Jets to get the win. I mentioned this last week. Is the Cowboys-Jaguars game, because the spread was -5 and then it went all the way to -3.5. Could this be a trap game? And we each thought, no, it wouldn't be. But it seems like, yeah, it was, because the Jaguars were able to pull out the win on a Dak Prescott pick 6 in overtime. Jaguars able to get the big win, 40-32. Good for the Jaguars. I'm impressed with how they performed this year. Next one, Eagles, Bears. Justin Fields did not play phenomenally. Ran for, I think, 90 yards. Good for him. The Jalen Hurts in the first half threw 2 weird interceptions. He doesn't normally throw the ball, turn the ball over in the first half. Yeah, a sprained shoulder. He may be out for the Christmas Eve game against the Cowboys.
Did he play after he got hurt?
I think he. No, I think Gardner Minshew was in there at the end of the game. So maybe that had some aspect to it. Falcons Saints. This was a weird game too, because the Falcons could have made a push for that first place spot. Now the NFC South, 2, 3, and 4, all tied up at 5 and 9. If the Bucs lose another game, they'll probably be out of the playoffs right now. Which that is saying something.
You'd think the Bucs could win 2 out of the last 3 when they're playing them.
If they lose to the Cardinals, the Panthers and Falcons are must-win games for them. Otherwise, they will miss the playoffs for the second time in Tom Brady's career. The next one, Cardinals at Broncos. Broncos, Brett Ripien played pretty well. He played efficiently, able to get the win. Colt McCoy turned into Trace McSorley, back to Colt McCoy. Not too good for the Cardinals. My guess would probably be Sean Payton is looking towards there. So I think they'll probably choose Kyler Murray over Cliff Kingsbury. So we'll see how that develops in the offseason. The next one, Patriots Raiders. I said from the beginning that the Raiders, we saw it in the preseason. You thought the Patriots might beat Josh McDaniels in the preseason. I said no. Look for the blowout. I think the Raiders won 23-7 in that game. This game could have taken the knee going to overtime. It's not like you were down. You were all tied up at 24 apiece. And then, we heard the audio from the Raiders announcer before. It's quite a hellacious game for coaching for Mac Jones. The defense choking at the very end, giving up that touchdown. The refs did not have a good week at all. A lot of questionable calls, a couple missed calls. but Ray was able to get the win. Next one, Bengals. Joe Burrow, second half, thanks to Tom Brady, able to come back, 200 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception, able to get this win. Most of his scores coming in short field, thanks to Tom Brady turning the ball over 4 times, which is all of the Buccaneers' turnovers this week. Next game, Titans-Chargers. I was a little bit nervous. Titans with Derrick Henry able to pull out the win, but Chargers barely won this game. Justin Herbert did more of his magic, which is what I hoped for at the end of that game, was Justin Herbert pulling out some of his late-game magic to win the game, which he's done several times this year. And he was able to do it. And we tied on the spread. It was a push when it came to the spread, so it's another tie on the board for our spreads. Next game, Giants got somewhat lucky, but I think the Commanders could have put this team away. They just weren't able to. A lot of field goals when it should have been touchdowns, I think.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. And then Packers, I knew Baker Mayfield.
Credit to the Giants. Yeah.
Absolutely. Credit to them. Credit to Saquon Barkley.
Too. Their defense, I think.
Their defense, yes, absolutely.
12 points. Only 12 points he gave up.
Yeah. And then in this final game, Packers, Rams. Baker Mayfield's a bridge to backup quarterback. Starting quarterback.
It's amazing how poor the Rams are now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl last year.
This is the worst.
They're terrible.
This is the worst. This is the worst going from Super Bowl to the next year. This is the worst
ever.
Worst ever. Yeah. So it's pretty bad. But hey, the Packers look good. Aaron Rodgers is fiery, had passion. It still looks like he still loves playing the game. He was making some throws that I thought, that's uncharacteristic of how Aaron Rodgers played this year.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, though.
No, I don't think either. I think
they need a lot of help.
I think the Lions could sneak in there.
They need a lot of help to get in, right?
They're able to run the ball very well. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon scoring a lot of touchdowns. 2 touchdowns from A.J. Dillon, running the ball effectively. Like I said 30 to 35 carries to win the game. They had 35 carries, and they did win this game. I believe it was 24
they
to
had
12.
28 carries.
No, between A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, 28. But if you include Aaron Rodgers and their third-string running back, it was in totality, it was 35 carries. And there we go. That wraps it up. I think now.
What about the Thursday night game?
We're gonna make our Thursday night picks. I'll start with my pick. I like Trevor Lawrence. That offense looked fiery and explosive. So I will be taking the Jaguars to beat the Jets here, and the point spread is 1.5. Jaguars on the road. I will take the Jaguars to win 31-23, a 8-point win after beating the Cowboys. I was impressed. Trevor Lawrence, since week 9, is leading the league in, I don't know if I have it here. I actually might. Let's see if I can bring this up very quickly. Since week 9, Trevor Lawrence is leading the league in completion percentage at 70.4, touchdown to interceptions 14-1, and passer rating with 111.2 since week 9. I will
benefiting from having Peterson as his coach.
Yes, we're seeing we're seeing what Doug Pearson did with Nick Foles back in 2017, able to win that Super Bowl. Your pick now.
I'm picking the Jaguars as well, 24-20. I think the coaching on the Jaguars side is better than the coaching on the Jets side. You saw Salah this last week. Poor clock management at the end of the game.
Yes.
What the hell were they thinking?
Yes.
You know, they should have they had 3 timeouts. There's a minute left. They let the clock, or maybe I guess a little less than a minute left. They let the clock run down to about 30 seconds before they snapped the ball. That was crazy. I didn't understand that at all. I don't know what the media said to him asked him about that after the game, but there's no good answer for that one. He just messed it up, I think. Yeah.
Zach Wilson was a little bit more mature in his post-game press conference, saying that we just got to play better. The reporters were trying to get him to say something stupid like the last time where he says,
he should have said, "I have to play better."
He's trying to be a leader after his one-word response the last time he was
no.
Yeah, just no, and the internet blew up and he got benched after that game.
Yeah.
So he was a little bit more mature in the post game, but I think I agree with you. I think Zach Wilson is the guy. But he played well. But I just think Trevor Lawrence
I don't think he played that well, actually.
Over 300 yards.
He threw that interception that was cost him the 3 points. That was the difference in the game.
Yeah, no, but I mean, without the 3 points, it would have been tied. So.
How many yards passing did he have?
He had over 300.
Yeah.
He had a little over 50% completion percentage, which I don't love. But I did say, for him to continue his Jets tenure this year, I said he probably.
I don't think he didn't play poor enough to be kicked out.
He was not the reason they lost.
He still has an opportunity, though. We'll see.
He might have been a reason, but he was not the reason, which is what I said.
Right.
So those were our picks for Thursday Night Football, and that wraps up another episode of the Harvey Hour. Follow us on social media at the Harvey Hour on TikTok, and subscribe here on YouTube for clips. Clips will be up tomorrow afternoon of the show if you want to just recap. If you want to listen to this podcast, anchor.fm/the Harvey Hour. If you want to send a message into the show, anchor.fm/the Harvey Hour/message. If we get messages, we will do a segment of messages on the show. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name's Nathan Harvey.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
That's my dad, Stephen Harvey.
Thanks for watching.
We are the
Appreciate
Harvey
it.
Hour. We will catch you guys on Friday, pre-Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
the 23rd of December. I think I have something planned that we might bring back the cadence game again. But I think you're going to be quizzing me this time if I can get that set up.
Oh.
It's going to be interesting. But for this episode, like I said, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the Harvey Hour. We will catch you guys Friday the 23rd, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Bye.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch.
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.